Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to be working with this beautiful, nicely dried out, good sized cherry burl. You'll notice that the bottom of this is nice and solid, so I'm really hoping that it doesn't have a tremendous amount of voids, but we do have some things to consider. We've got one side that's real low, one side that's real high. You can kind of see it a little bit better this way. So there's no way I'm going to turn it as one single piece. I would just end up putting so much of the burl on the floor. So I'm going to work with this larger, higher side today. And I think what I'm going to do is kind of cut it right around here, trim this off, use this piece here for another project and for another day, and just concentrate on this bigger piece here. But anyway, let's get to it. I'm excited to see what's inside, and here we go. First thing, just my very high-tech template that I use to, before I do any kind of trimming, to kind of see the space that I want to work with. And I'm going to use a Forstner bit to drill past the bark so I can get a nice connection with the lathe. So my intention with this is to do a live edge piece. So this area here will be the bottom, and all that bark area will be the top of my piece. Just flattening off the bottom, and I'm going to start establishing a tenon here as well. So far so good as far as not a tremendous amount of voids. There are some very large wormholes though. So I'm going to start working on bringing these bottom corners in and start working toward a shape. I checked this burl and it was about 7% moisture content, so nice and dry. It's one of the pieces that I got from a gentleman who was moving, and he was a turner, obviously, and he had so many beautiful blanks in his shop, and he just didn't want to move them all. But this is one of the ones that had been sitting for, maybe 20 years, according to him, or so. But anyway, no moisture, nice and dry. Little shear scraping to help me refine the shape, and trusty old skew to smooth things out a little bit. Going to start to get some sandpaper on it and get to a point where we can finish the outside. It wasn't super easy because once I went toward the top, because it's such an irregular shape, I had to do all of that with the lathe off because it would beat the heck out of you if you tried to sand or anything toward the top. Gonna go ahead and put a little alcohol on here just to clean up everything before we go any further. Make sure that the piece is nice and clean, get all the dust gone, that sort of thing. Gotta love a cherry burl. These things are so pretty. Time to get it turned around and get that tenon in a chuck so it's securely on the lathe, and start working on hollowing out the inside. So when you're working past any of the burl bark like this, just make sure your tool is very sharp, obviously, and just really take your time. When the outside or the top is so irregular like this, it's always kind of stressful for me to decide how thick or thin to try to make the walls. Don't want a real heavy, bulky piece, but you also don't want to compromise the integrity, knowing that you could come up with a big void at any time. So stopping a lot and checking and seeing where I want or need to be. We're kind of getting to the point where I need to get that tailstock gone, but I try to keep that up as long as possible so it's as safe as possible. We don't want this thing flying off. Remove the tailstock now, and we'll get rid of that center portion that was used for support and start really refining the inside wall thickness and shape. At this point, I'm kind of feeling like that's as much as I'd like to go as far as the thinness of the walls. So we'll just start removing the interior bulk, get that material gone, and start cleaning everything up. So again, so far so good. No big voids or surprises. It's still a cherry burl, so it's going to have its share. But all in all, this piece was very solid inside and out. Use that negative rake scraper to smooth out the inside and get rid of tool marks and get us ready to sand. I'll show you a little of that, and but not a whole bunch. And took it up to about a 400 grit. I'll burnish the inside with the steel wool and the Scotch pads. And time to put some alcohol on to clean it up and get all that dust gone. There's only so much that compressed air can do. And this cleans things up very nicely and dries really quickly. So we'll get this turned around. I had a couple comments, people asking if I would elaborate a little bit more on the vacuum chuck that I use as a jam chuck a lot of times. The vacuum chuck is just like a jam chuck. It's got this soft foamy portion on the front that can sit right against your piece. That attaches to the headstock, and you would normally put a tube in the back and set the vacuum on, so it's kind of sucking the piece onto there. But I just use it as a jam chuck, and because it attaches perfect and true every single time to the headstock, and I just find it easier to use than a piece of wood. So anyway, let's get this tenon gone and finish off the bottom, and we can wrap this piece up. I'm going to finish this off the same way I did the rest. I'm going to sand it probably to about a 400 grit, and I'll even burnish it with the Scotch pads and steel wool. Big old wormhole on the very bottom there. Lovely. So I was very pleased that this piece did not have a tremendous amount of voids. So time to put the branding emblem on and get some Danish oil on it and call this one a day. This is just a little light brown tinted Danish oil. I like how the little tiny bit of color in the oil brings out the color of the wood. I really appreciate all the support from everybody. As always, best way to support me for free is to hit that notification bell when you subscribe. That helps me more than you know. Please put a comment in the bottom. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you would do different. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Stick around for all the after picks. Those are coming up in just a moment.